at Foxborough Cable Access.
Saffron is essentially the stamen of a rose.
Feeling creative?
Sage has a great flavor.
Is your palate needing a new challenge? Well, let's cook with Mike Damasio.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another show of Let's Cook with Mike Damasio. I'm your host, Mike Damasio. I'd like to first start off by thanking Stop and Shop in Foxborough, Mike McKenzie and his management crew there for helping supply us with all the products we have here for today's cooking show. I have another great show for you today. We're going to be doing a nice chicken dish. It's going to be a pecan crusted chicken with a tarragon cream sauce over some Parmesan polenta. Very nice. Again, you can see here I don't have too many ingredients in front of me, and we're going to make this incredible meal. It's tasty. It should be stuff that you're very easy to get. Everything here was under $30. So you can make a nice meal, 4 people, under $30 with just these few simple ingredients. I have some, for the polenta, we have the chicken stock, the cornmeal, some Parmesan cheese, and for our chicken dish, we have the beautiful chicken breasts, the pecans, some heavy cream and tarragon, and butter for the sauce. All right, let's cook. First thing we're going to do is start off with making the polenta, since that's going to take the most time. What we're going to do is we're going to cook the polenta, and I'm going to chill it, and then we're going to bring it back at the end, and we're going to grill it. I'm going to form it into some cups here, and again, to add some texture, some height to the dish, things I like to add. All right, so the first thing is 2 cups of water, the chicken base into our pan here. Roughly measured with our measuring cups here. And this is 8 tablespoons of polenta. We're going to bring this to a boil. And we're going to just have to keep stirring polenta. You don't want it to get clumpy. You want it to be nice and smooth and creamy. And as the mixture starts to come together, we are going to add the Parmesan cheese. So we're going to keep stirring here. It comes together very quickly, as you'll see. And now I have a confession here. As an Italian, I usually like to use the real cornmeal, but it takes too much time for our show here. So today I'm using an instant polenta mix, which is still just cornmeal, but it's already a pre-cooked cornmeal. As you can see, it tightens up real fast. I'm going to add just a little bit more liquid to it. Get a little more creamy. Now that we added the Parmesan cheese, you can see how quick it binded up. So we just want to make sure we keep this nice and loose. It's coming together very nicely. This is very good. That's going to be ready in just a few minutes. I'm going to turn down the heat here. And I'm going to start preparation for our next step, which is the chicken. So as you can see, that's very easy to make the polenta, especially instant polenta. And add a little salt, always just a taste, and pepper. Very nice. There we go, beautiful. I'm gonna let that sit for just a moment. I'm gonna get to our next step here. All right, next thing we're going to do is work with the chicken. As you can see, I have a second cutting board here that I'm working specifically with the chicken. You don't want to cross-contaminate raw chicken with anything else that you're using. It can be very harmful. Obviously, we've all heard of salmonella, and that's one of the things you never want to have. It's not a very pleasant ailment to get. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take our beautiful chicken breasts, and I'm just going to cut them right in half. To thin them out a little bit. This will shorten the cooking time, as well as it still gives you a plenty good sized portion for each person to have. So there we go. We have 4 pieces of chicken. I'm going to put those back. And I'm going to change my gloves. The next step, I'm going to get rid of this cutting board. is we're going to create a breading station. Now, usually when you do a breading station for chicken Parmesan, it's eggs, flour, and breadcrumbs. Today we're going to do it with the chopped pecans instead of breadcrumbs. So I'm going to chop up our pecans here. You want to get them nice and fine. They don't have to be as fine as they would be if you were as breadcrumbs would be, but you want to get them as fine as possible so they'll stick nicely to the chicken. So we're just going to cut these up. And you can do this dish really with any nut that you like. Walnut crusted, pistachio crusted, almond crusted. I like pecans and pistachios are my two favorite nuts. I think they just have the most flavor, and I think they cook up the nicest as well. So this is just going to chop up quite a bit. As we're here inside Studio K, the weather outside is still gray, but we're coming towards the nicer weather. Baseball season's upon us. Let's hope the Red Sox just don't end up in last place this year. That would be a good season. I also umpire locally around here as well, where I actually do some umpiring for the most famous host on this TV channel, Mr. Bob Hickey. So as you can see, we got the pecans nice and fine. It's a little trick I usually use sometimes when I'm doing something like this is I'll put two knives together and cut them, but today I don't have two knives, so we're just going to use one. I want to get it nice and fine. All right, that should do us. So I'm getting ready with the breading station. So for the breading station, we also need eggs and flour. Okay, so I'm going to put these in one container here. Pecans, flour, and eggs. Let's crack the eggs. There we go. Remove all shells. Excellent. We have all the supplies here at Studio K. Anything I want at my disposal. Very nice. We're just going to beat up these eggs. Before I start the breading, I'm going to pack in some of the polenta into these little dishes, put them into the refrigerator until the end of the show when they're going to be needed and used. All right. Breading purposes, perfect. Oh, one last thing I forgot here. In our pecan mix, I'm going to take about a tablespoon of nice fresh tarragon. Delicious. What a great flavor. Tarragon and chicken goes great. I love tarragon in my hollandaise, which makes a béarnaise sauce over some beautiful tenderloin steak, if you love that sort of stuff. Great flavor in tarragon. So again, I'm just finely chopping so that it, again, will adhere to the chicken when we go to bread it. All right. Mix it up nice. Looks like we got a good mixture of pecans and tarragon in there for the chicken. But again, before we go on to the chicken breading, I'm going to make a few little cups of polenta here. All right, put this aside. Just going to take the polenta. I'm going to form it into these cups here. And later on, we're going to give these a little grill. Hopefully they come together nice. Chill nicely. All right, put this aside. And I'm just going to put these three right into the refrigerator. Okay, now the breading of the chicken. Okay, first one into the egg, into the flour, get a nice coverage. And into the pecan. Now, this is going to be the toughest thing to adhere by. But you want to just coat it as best you can. Everything will cook up nicely. Let me turn up the heat here on my grill. We're going to use butter to start. I got 3 little tablespoons there. We want to get a good fry on these chicken. Again, one of the reasons why we are making them thin is so that they will cook a little faster. And again, as you can see, this is a great portion for one person. Put this aside till the butter gets melted there. Egg, flour, and pecan. Grab all the pecans you can. Butter is melting nicely. This will give me a minute to clear up this mess. As you can see, breading stations can be quite messy, but it's all part of the fun in cooking. Just going to put all this stuff aside. As our butter's getting nice and melty over there, we're ready to put these chickens into the pan. A little pressure on the... We're going to let these settle for a few minutes here. And they're going to cook up nicely. All right. While those are cooking, we're going to get ready for our sauce. Again, what we're going to do here is just chop up some of the tarragon and get it ready. What we're doing now is we're going to brown the chicken, get it pretty much all the way cooked through, maybe about 80%, because we're going to finish it in our sauce. And once that's all done, the sauce and the chicken will stew together, and it just adds more flavor to the dish. And we're going to put it right over the right over the polenta. Let's see how we're doing here. All right. Come along nicely. Leave that there for just a moment. I'm going to dice up some more of this tarragon here. This is going to be added to our sauce, about another 2 tablespoons. All right, back into our holding cup here. As you can see, this is a very simple, very quick recipe. Doesn't take much time. And it's going to taste delicious in the end. There'll be enough here for all of our crew to enjoy once again. I know it's my favorite time, the eating part. The chicken seems to be coming along nicely. We'll give them a flip. Beautiful. Beautiful. The chicken here should take about 5 to 7 minutes maximum to cook all the way through. Again, we're going to go about 80-90%. We're going to use these pecans as a garnish at the end for the dish. Nice fine chop, right back into it. Alright, chicken's nearing completion. What we're going to do is we're going to set aside this chicken after a few more minutes, and we're going to create the sauce right inside the dish here, which is it's going to get a lot of the flavors from the chicken and the pecan, and it's just going to be delicious. So again, to make the sauce here, once we remove the chicken out of the pan, we're going to add some of the cream, the heavy cream, the chicken stock, some more butter. We're going to reduce that down. Once that gets to a little bit of a simmer, we are going to add the chicken back in and kind of let it all cook together, and it's going to come together real nicely. The sauce will thicken, it'll grab onto the chicken and just add to the flavor, and hopefully the polenta will accompany it perfectly. So we're going to pull this chicken off. It's about where we need it to be, about 80%, 90% done. And I'm going to go right in, I'm going to add a few more tablespoons of butter because, as we talk about quite often on this show, butter makes it better. If it's not butter, it's got to be bacon. I'm going to add the heavy cream right in. I'm going to add approximately a cup of the chicken stock. We're going to let this all cook and simmer. Once it gets to a simmer, I'll add in the tarragon. So don't worry, you're going to get some burnt pieces of the nut, whatever nut you use. We have the pecans here. Don't worry about it. It adds a lot of nice flavor to the dish. They're just dark browned. I never like to say burnt. It's always done well and not well done. So once this comes up to a little bit of a simmer, which is starting to right now, as you can see, it's starting to bubble. It's taking on a nice color with the cream and the butter and chicken stock and the nuts. And add this in here, the tarragon, make the sauce. Again, as you can see, I'm using fresh herbs, just a much better flavor, much better finished product than if you use dry herbs. You taste the difference. In the end, you just get a much more authentic flavor from fresh than you do with the dry seasoning, and you need less, to be honest, because there's more flavor in these in the fresh herbs. So we got a nice rolling boil here. This stuff is going to thicken up nicely because of the heavy cream as it reduces down. We're going to put the chicken right back in our pot. This is going to absorb a lot of the flavor. It's going to help out. It's going to help out thickening the dish as well because the chicken has some flour in there. So with the flour and the chicken and the heavy cream, it's going to create a little bit of a nice thick sauce for us. All right, so we have our chicken cooking in with the sauce right now, and just a few, to talk about a few things. So our great producer Deb brought in this great Secco cranberry sparkling wine. Secco is a German from the new variety of wine called Prosecco, which is kind of trendy right now. It's basically flavored sparkling wine, very big with the 20-something or others these days. But a nice fruity wine would complement this dish very well because it's going to be sharp with the nuts, heavy with the cream sauce, and I say bland with the polenta because polenta is kind of a bland dish. It depends on what you add to it is what makes the flavor. So we're going to bring out the polenta again. It's had time to cool. They're in their little cups here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of oil on these. And I'm going to try to get some grill marks. We'll see how it turns out. Obviously, this isn't the best grilling station we could use here, but it's what we got here at Studio K, and we make the best of everything we have here. So let's see what we can do. Try to hopefully they won't stick, but at the same time get some color. So there's also two different ways you could serve the polenta. This one we're doing as a solid form. We formed it in these cups. You can use any kind of, little cup or plate or bowl that you want to get a shape out of. And I'm using solid because we have a nice creamy meal here. We have a nice creamy dish. If the dish didn't have this delicious sauce to accompany it, I'd probably use a more soft polenta, more creamy polenta, so that it's a little more mushy on the plate, almost like a porridge. But with this dish, because we have this great sauce, a nice firm polenta, I think is going to accompany this meal very well. I'm going to get some plates here, because we're almost ready for plating time. And really, if you were going to do a vegetable with this dish, I didn't do a vegetable with this dish today, but if you're going to do a vegetable, it's really something very plain. A nice green, again, to pop the colors, would bring out the rest of the dish. But you want to do something green and plain because you have so much flavor going on here with the Parmesan polenta and the cream and the pecans on the chicken. A nice basic steamed or sauteed vegetable would be what you'd want to go with this. So let's see how we turned out here with our grilled polenta. Well, some of the marks stuck there, but we're getting the idea. Grill the other side. Here you go. There's some marks for us right there. All right. So I'm going to bring down the temperature of this chicken. That chicken should be nice and cooked. The sauce has thickened a little bit. Turn the chicken off. As you can see, the chicken is nicely coated with the pecans, sitting in our nice creamy tarragon sauce. The polenta's looking great. I'm only going to use 2 for this dish. Actually, I'll use 1 for each dish here. Let me get this out of here. I'm going to plate up 2 dishes today. This will be our show plate because it has the marks. Let's see how we do here. Huh? It's all right. Go there. We'll put this one aside. Very nice. All right. So we're going to put our chicken, and again, I love height, and I love the height, and I like making it looking fancy here. So I'm going to take a little bit of this sauce. Oh yeah, and you don't have to be shy with this. So here we go. Here we have our pecan crusted chicken over Parmesan polenta and a tarragon cream sauce. A delicious meal. Again, under $30. Thank you again to Stop and Shop in Foxborough for helping making this show possible. Thanking the crew also. This has been another episode of Let's Cook with Mike. And if I can get a fork here, I am going to give this a little sample before we show out so you can see the enjoyment I have. And it cuts with a fork. This is delicious. Really nice. Oh my goodness. I know I have to share. Doesn't mean I want to. All right. Done stuffing my face. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on Let's Cook with Mike.
We're on the roaster.